Don't gotta shoot, I got shooters. I know I'm cooler than the cooler. I know this way you keep the alcohol. I know that I'm out the bar. All of my niggas are savages. Beating up the boneless for savages. I know that if I got passengers, I love these cracking like my passengers. My girl so fly to have them early. She love the magic like Merlin. And the boss like a herb. Shit, they kept in this turd. Shit, I let the cat out the bag. Okay, they get it, let it take out the sack. Let it breathe. It's a man. Baby, please, I'm already there. Check it, they bring me everywhere. My purpose in me is a love affair. Smelling the trees is a buzzing here. Can't be down with the team if you want prepared. Hey, this is my style. Do it with the distance and my attention. Hey, the car going wild. So I guess I'ma keep on spitting. Nigga,
Okay. Let's just get to some of these things. So here's my question. I need to know, is my microphone crackling? Yesterday, I tried to watch the show and my microphone was nonstop crackling. And I think there's a short in my headphones because my headphones plug into the microphone. Anyways, this is Coffee, Bong Hits, Jessie. I'm one of those things. I am not a coffee. So, anyways, it's going to be a rough one today. I don't know if you guys can see what's going on, but I got a couple things, right? My eyebrow's not supposed to do that where it goes zinc is on zinc. My eyebrow is not supposed to look like a division problem. And then this one's terrible too. There's two of them. I actually got one on my shoulder. I'm not trying to complain though. At least I'm not Derek Chauvin's. At least I'm not Derek Chauvin's attorney. But yeah, big ass one right there. This one hurts. This one's huge. I don't know if you can see it. It's like from there to there. But then this one is nuts, yo. This one's like from there to here. Why do I look like the angry New Yorker's cousin Carl right now? Hey, it's cousin Carl. We're gonna go to the supermarket. Yeah, it's bad. It's bad. I'm cousin Carl's cousin Jessie. All right. So I got the trials up. We're gonna get out the way.
My estimation was very similar to previous experts, about 20 to 25 breaths per minute.
And if someone is experiencing hypoxia,
just a reminder, I hate this guy.
Typically, when you're short of breath, you breathe faster and faster and faster.
And is 22 to 25 breaths per minute considered rapid breathing?
It's faster than being at rest. And typically, at rest, you would be breathing at less than 20. But it's certainly not a rapid respiratory rate now.
How about certain types of phobias?
Yes. So, you know, if you have a phobia and you are pushed into a situation where you have to face the phobia, it's very stressful and it will fire up your fight and flight type situation.
And how would that affect the respiratory rate?
Well, the moment you go into fight and flight and your adrenaline is surging, you're likely to start, and some people hyperventilate.
Is the echo better or worse?
So again, in terms of that respiration rate, you would expect it to increase well beyond the normal rate.
Help me out, folks. Is the echo better or worse?
Yes, I would not expect it to slow
Let's
down.
go to the website.
In terms of the placement of the knee and the neck, could you determine based on your review whether it appeared his airway was obstructed?
Yes, the placement of the knee is towards the back and the back right side of Mr. Floyd's neck. And the airway is around the front. It is nowhere close to his airway.
We were talking about having an open airway. How does that affect your ability to speak?
The ability to speak or make any other sound, groaning, and Mr. Floyd did groan. So any of the sounds that Mr. Floyd is making requires you to be able to take air in over the vocal cords and out over the vocal cords. And so therefore, you cannot make sound unless you're moving air and that your mouth is open and people can actually hear to some extent. I can hum with my mouth closed, but it's not effective. So the bottom line is moving air in and out and speaking and making noise is very good evidence that the airway was not closed.
Now, in terms of, again, prior testimony, did you review or watch the testimony of Dr. Chauvin?
I did not watch all of Dr. Chaubin's testimony, no.
Okay. Did you hear him discussing the hypopharynx?
I did.
And hypopharynx compression?
Yes.
Have you ever seen anything in the forensic medical literature that a compression of the hypopharynx can cause asphyxia?
I have not.
When you heard his testimony, what steps and efforts did you take to consider that?
Started to do a survey of the available medical literature to ensure that I hadn't missed something. And I could not find...
Objection, Your Honor. Sidebar.
Overruled. Continue.
I could not find anything in the forensic literature talking about pressure applied to the neck causing a hypopharynx.
Objection, Your Honor. They disclose.
Overruled.
And then I went to the standard medical literature, and there are entities which cause impairment of the hypopharynx, but they are usually, well, they all were focused on foreign bodies being inhaled, such as hot dogs or some other object, and then also tumors in that area potentially blocking off that structure. So nothing that really matched the testimony of Dr. Chauvin, as I understand it.
Okay. In terms of hypoxia, moving back to that hypoxia, is hypoxia, the signs of hypoxia, is that a progressive or a fast process?
Typically, it can be both, but you have to recognize that there is oxygen in your blood that is there, and it takes a while to use up that particular oxygen. So in most circumstances, the onset of hypoxia is gradual. If I restrict somebody's breathing and slow it down by some means or stop it by some means, there is still oxygen dissolved in their blood. You can hold your breath for 30 seconds with comfort. At 45 seconds, you're probably getting a little uncomfortable and you want to breathe. That's your innate reflex trying to override your voluntary suppression of your breathing. But you could probably go out to a minute before you start feeling woozy and or uncomfortable and disoriented. And so that is that's the heart continuing to distribute what you've got in your. So we see hypoxia occurring gradually in most circumstances over time. It's not something which is an on-off switch and rapid.
And as far as those symptoms that you see or would expect to see in a hypoxic situation, do they gradually progress like that as well?
Typically, yes.
Did you notice hypoxic changes in this particular case?
No. Mr. Floyd was coherent and understandable until shortly before there was a sudden cessation of his movement.
So if Mr. Floyd in this case was progressively suffering from hypoxia, what would you have expected to observe?
I would expect him to become disoriented, confused, incoherent. I would expect some of those symptoms to be at least somewhat apparent.
And you would have, in your review of the videos, would you have expected to see a progression in that hypoxia?
Objection, Your Honor, asked me to answer that.
Sorry, understood. Now, how about asphyxia due to position or compression? Let's talk about that. What does that affect?
So there are certain positions a person can get into which impairs your breathing.
And what does that lead to?
It leads to difficulty in moving your diaphragm and your chest, and impairing your ability to reoxygenate your blood.
Can that lead to hypoxia?
Yes.
Which bodily organ would you expect to see affected first?
The brain.
And all of those effects on speech and orientation and things progressing.
Correct.
You described what you saw as a sudden change. What does that mean to your analysis?
So Mr. Floyd goes from making clear statements, and some of the words I heard were please, and I'm short of breath, please, and then there's a period of about 45 seconds of silence, but he's still moving and seems to be active, and then there's a sudden relaxation. And so he goes from pretty much fully functional and coherent to unconscious very rapidly.
So in this particular case, how does his 90% blockage of the right coronary artery come into play?
So what you're looking at there is a sudden decompensation, which is much more consistent with a
No coffee.
cardiac event. What happens there is the moment the heart stops pumping insufficient blood, there is no circulation of blood. There is no circulation of the blood that still has some oxygen in it. And the brain will function for about 15 seconds, 10 to 15 seconds with full consciousness. After that, the person loses consciousness, but it's not instantly dead. People don't suddenly stop breathing when they go unconscious. They will continue to breathe for a period of time, which can be as long as a minute or two, until the respiratory center in your brain shuts down. And at that stage, the person stops breathing.
So in this case, can you just kind of describe the layers of factors that lead you to your conclusion that this was a sudden cardiac event?
Yes. So we have a heart that's vulnerable because it's too big. It demands lots of oxygen. It has very narrow vessels. There are certain drugs that are present in his system that put it at a risk of an arrhythmia, the methamphetamine. There is another drug, fentanyl, which slows down your breathing, which will lower the oxygen, potentially saturation in your blood. We've got the carbon monoxide, which has the potential to rob some of that additional oxygen carrying capacity. And then we've got vasoconstriction. So there are multiple entities all acting together and adding to each other.
How far
And
do you think they
taking
had to
away from
travel
the heart
to find a
of-
scumball
of
that would defend Derek
the
Chauvin?
ability to get oxygen into his heart.
Obviously, they had to cross the
And so
whole
at some
ocean.
point, the heart exhausted its reserves of metabolic supply, and went into an arrhythmia and then stopped pumping blood effectively.
Now, just a couple more topics to just cover with you, Doctor. You did review in any death investigation, do you review the role that controlled substances play in death?
Yes.
Do you do that on a regular basis?
It's a very important part of a forensic investigation. And most medical examiner's offices will try to get close to 100% toxicology analysis on their cases if suitable specimens are available.
Now, in terms of the toxicology in this case, how would you characterize the role of fentanyl from the standpoint of forensic pathology, not toxicology, forensic pathology?
So fentanyl is a powerful narcotic. It's about 80 times more powerful than morphine. And the side effects of fentanyl are slowing down the respiration. So that impairs your ability to breathe as fast as you normally would.
Does that result in decreased oxygen saturation?
It would result in decreased air exchange, which would mean decreasing the oxygen in the bloodstream, but also not fully getting rid of the carbon dioxide, the byproducts of our normal metabolism, so slowly increasing carbon dioxide in his bloodstream.
Now, again, within the
I
context...
never trust somebody that wears their VIP credentials on the outside of their shirt anyways. Tuck that stuff in like you got backstage before.
It is a byproduct of fentanyl. It's a metabolic byproduct. And so in your liver, or in Mr. Floyd's liver, as the fentanyl passed through the liver, it was broken down into norfentanyl, which is the metabolic byproduct. It's the liver beginning to destroy and metabolize the fentanyl and remove it from the body system.
Now, I'm going to, for the court, I have, there are 3 slides contained within your PowerPoint presentation. I've independently marked them as exhibits 1059, 1060, and 1061. I'd like to show them to the witness. Can you see that, Doctor?
Yes.
Would you agree that this appears to be a screenshot taken from the body-worn camera of Officer Lane at 20:09 and 44 seconds?
Correct.
Looking at the second one, would you agree that this, again, appears to be a body-worn camera image taken at 20:09, 45 seconds?
Yes.
And finally, a third image at 20:09 and 48 seconds.
Yes.
I'm glad you said it, Fenda.
I would offer 2059, 2060, and 2061.
No objection, no.
And our permission to publish 1059. So in this image, Doctor, it's kind of hard to see. What, in your review, did you determine whether there was the possibility that controlled substances were ingested at the time of approach by Officers King and Lane?
Yes.
And what do you see in this image, 1059, that is consistent with that?
In the back corner of Mr. Floyd's mouth, you can see what appears to be a white object.
See if I can. Are you talking? This object right there? Oops.
Just slightly higher up.
Holy shit. It doesn't matter though, but
Well, why don't you do it?
they only need one juror to think it does matter.
Sorry, I covered it with the dot, but that's what I'm referring to.
All right.
You see, just underneath the dot.
Now, in the next image, 1060, what appears to be happening?
In this particular image, it appears that Mr. Floyd is looking away, from, from Officer Lane.
And looking at the timestamps, that's approximately 1 second later.
Yes.
And in the third image, does he appear to be looking at Officer Lane again?
Yes,
And do you see that same object in his mouth?
I can, yes.
You can. And so what does this lead you to conclude, or what did you strike at? Oops. We can do this. In terms of the later analysis, there, you understand there was some evidence collected from the backseat of Squad 320?
That is my understanding, yes.
And do you know what that substance was?
There was some material there that had saliva and DNA on it that matched Mr. Floyd, and those, I believe, those objects had fentanyl and methamphetamine, if my memory serves me correctly.
So is that what you conclude your analysis on in terms of the ingestion of controlled substances as far as the timing in this case? Both before they were approached as well as during, in the backseat of the squad car?
Yes.
Now, how does the depression of the respiratory rate, and we may have covered this, I apologize, how does the depression of the respiratory system, how does that affect the heart specifically?
If the respiratory rate is decreased, the amount of oxygen that is getting into the bloodstream through the lungs is decreased. If I breathe slowly, I'm not able to get as much oxygen into my lungs as if I'm breathing very rapidly. So anything which slows down respiration is going to affect the ability to oxygenate your blood.
And will that also work in concert with the coronary artery issues?
It makes it worse. Again, anything which lowers his oxygen saturation in the blood will act again to restrict oxygen supply to his heart muscles past that blockage.
How about you also understand that methamphetamine was found in the toxicology?
Yes.
And how would you look at the role of methamphetamines from the perspective of a forensic pathologist?
So methamphetamine has three major factors. It can cause arrhythmias, it causes vasoconstriction, and it causes the heart to beat faster. Those are its three major physiological or pharmacological activities. And that would impair, again, an individual in Mr. Floyd's condition with his heart disease and put him at risk.
Now, in terms of, again, the toxicology findings, in the fentanyl, there was the metabolite norfentanyl, correct?
Yes.
What does that tell you in terms of the timing of when Mr. Floyd may have ingested the fentanyl?
It tells you at least some of the fentanyl was taken at some point previously, at some time before, that allowed for enough time for the fentanyl to be absorbed and then pass through the liver and some of it to be broken down. That doesn't happen instantaneously. It can take a period of time.
And methamphetamine, does it have a similar metabolite?
It has a metabolite, yes.
And what is the metabolite?
Amphetamine.
And based on your review of the toxicology in the case, was there amphetamine found?
I did not see any amphetamine in the reports.
What does that suggest to you as a forensic pathologist relevant to the time at which Mr. Floyd would have ingested the methamphetamine?
So that would be consistent with a recent ingestion of methamphetamine.
And in terms of the phase of absorption or elimination, where would that place him?
Well, if there's no evidence of elimination, i.e. metabolism from methamphetamine to amphetamine, it's not in the elimination phase. And given that there appears to be, there's none of that, he's still probably in the absorptive phase. It's consistent with the absorptive phase.
And ultimately, those pills that were found in the backseat of the squad car, you understand that when Mr. Floyd was in the squad car, he was handcuffed.
Objection leading.
Rephrase. Sustained.
What information did you have about Mr. Floyd's ability to ingest those controlled substances while he was in the squad car?
He had his hands cuffed behind his back from the videos, and those were placed outside when he was taken out of his own vehicle. I did not see any time when those were removed until such time as resuscitation was attempted. So the entire time he had his hands cuffed behind his back. And therefore, I cannot think of a plausible way that an individual would be able to get materials into their mouth while restrained in such a format.
Now, the last topic I'd like to discuss with you is the Periganglioma. Did I say that right?
That is close.
All right. Can you just describe what that is?
A Periganglioma. So this is a tumor that was found at the time of autopsy down in Mr. Floyd's lower abdominal area. And these are tumors. And they typically are of two types. One which is has parasympathetic, or is similar to the parasympathetic part of your nervous system, which does not secrete any substances, or certainly vasoactive substances like catecholamine. And then there are the sympathetic ones, which have the ability to secrete. The parasympathetic ones tend to be found up in the head and neck area, and the sympathetic ones tend to be found down in the lower abdominal area. Again, this is where Mr. Floyd's was found.
What's the relevance of finding the Periganglioma in this case?
So these tumors have, at least the ones in the pelvic area, if they are secreting vasoactive substances, catecholamines is the correct term, they will cause an individual potentially to be hypertensive. So that's one of their baseline, if they have a low level of secretion. And the other thing that paragangliomas do is every now and then, without warning, they'll have a sudden surge in secretion. So they're cyclical, which sometimes makes it difficult to diagnose them. You have to do specific testing to diagnose them to get around the cyclical activity.
So just kind of in conclusion, Doctor, did you form ultimately opinions as to the cause and manner of death of Mr. Floyd?
Yes.
And what would those conclusions be?
Mr. Floyd died of a cardiac arrhythmia due to hypertensive atherosclerotic cardiovascular disease during the restraint.
Okay. And were there contributing causes?
Yes.
What are those?
The substances, the fentanyl and the methamphetamine, the potential of a carbon monoxide role, and the potential that the paraganglionoma was adding adrenaline to this whole mixture, making things even worse.
How would you classify the manner of death?
So this is one of those cases where you have so many conflicting different manners. The carbon monoxide would usually be classified as an accident, although somebody was holding him there. So some people would say you could elevate that to a homicide. You've got the drugs on board. In most circumstances, in most jurisdictions, a drug intoxication would be considered to be an accident. He's got significant natural disease, certainly the heart, Periganglioma. You can certainly consider it as a potential exacerbating process, but I wouldn't put it at the top of the list there. So he's got a mixture of that. And then he's in a situation where he's been restrained in a very stressful situation. And that increased his fight and flight type reaction. And that would, during restraint, would be considered a homicide. And you put all of those together, it's very difficult to say which of those is the most accurate. So I would fall back to undetermined
Now, if we
in
can,
this particular case.
if we put your slide regarding the undetermined manner again back up. So essentially this, Doctor, you would agree that this had lots of or many potential contributing causes.
Correct.
And under the definition, the name's definition of an undetermined manner, how does that apply?
So that is what this classification under the name guidelines is really one of the uses of this particular classification is when you've got so many conflicting different potential mechanisms of death that could lead to so therefore the manner is not clear.
Your Honor, I have no further questions.
The jury will take our lunch recess. We'll reconvene at 1:30. Council remain for a short time.
All right, well, that was that. Man, I wish I had an afternoon version of this show just so we could watch the cross-examination. I mean, good morning, Lady Amore, ADM, Finda, who else we got in here? Sarah, Justice, what's up? Nick, Mr. Joyride, tell your family I love them. Who else we got up in here? I know I've seen some other people earlier. Okay, well, Ashley's in here, Erica's in here. Where's Marty rocking the party? It ain't a party without Marty, right? Okay, yo, so check this out. I'm definitely going to tune into the cross-examination, but I don't know if you guys see what's going on in my life. A giant spider bite, and I have this giant spider bite right here. Look, this thing is this big. I look like the angry New Yorker's cousin Carl. Are we gonna go to the supermarket today? Is that Universal Studios, Carl? My bad. Okay, I'm not trying to be lighthearted, because that was a horrible thing we just witnessed, the Derek Chauvin trial. Oh man, the skin on my head is starting to feel puffy, like it's stretching. Jessie versus Spider Venom. Damn, dude, look, my whole eye chunk. My entire eye chunk. From here to here. It's just a giant swollen spider bite. Look at that. Oh man, that is so nuts. How can our hero defeat the spider? Okay, look. You guys know that at 10:35 every day we play independent hip hop, but sometimes we don't play independent hip hop. Sometimes we play just revolutionary shit, but either way, we play it at 10:35, right? 10:35, and that's to raise awareness for the meal exchange program, mealexchange.com. There you go, and here's your special little surprise for today. I'm just gonna play this. You're like, oh my gosh, Jessie, what could you possibly be playing right now? Where is your mood at? See, the show reflects my mood, right? Like everything I do, it's all one big brand. So, here you go, sons of bitches. Man, hey, fuck Ice-T, though. Seriously, fuck Ice-T. He's like, oh, I play one on TV, but they could suck my dick. Like, dude, fuck off, man. You didn't have to take that role. You didn't have to take that role. Yo, man. Nick Good Road is on the good road. And I'm telling you guys, the Kudokin is about to. Who even says that as a dude? Who even says that? I'm about to have an orgasm. I don't know, but I'm about to have an orgasm. This shit is, I don't know. I think I probably should go to the hospital. So that lady just killed the lady just killed that young boy or that young man. He's a boy to me, man. If you're not even old enough to drink, you're a child still to me. But that lady cop killed that dude and yelled, taser, taser, taser. Bro, that's so dumb. Anybody who's ever been on some level of involvement with the police understands the way that they communicate like that. I'm not going to go through it again like I did yesterday. Thank you, Finda. They gave her second-degree manslaughter, which is the lowest charge you can give. And unless the Attorney General of the United States picks it up, I think that's what she's going to get charged with. Yo. Look at my eye, man. You know there's a giant brain back here that I have to protect. So when you say, the reason I brought up that woman's training is because when you say that the police just need better training, that woman was a trainer. She was a super high-ranking police officer. And like I showed you guys yesterday when I took that training course with the police, when I took that training course with the police, I told you guys they kept telling me that I should have stood back at a range where I would have killed somebody. I just kept going, dude, I would have killed somebody from that range. Or dude, I would have had to shoot somebody, and they didn't care. Let's run through some sponsors real quick. If something does indeed happen to my brain right now, I don't want you to forget that standupandfightback.bigcartel.com is your home for all sorts of modern streetwear. So go check them out. Also, I hope you're watching this on urbansurvivorman.com, home of the Aloha Wall Walker, which is the best silhouette logo in the business. What business? The silhouette logo business. Okay, Shane McLemore Toys and Custom Action Figures is not for suckers or crybabies or people that report each other on Facebook. Don't do it. Find them on Etsy, eBay, Instagram. Also, only on Instagram is Fat Binger from Binger Glass Designs. I'm the Fat Binger. That's Binger Glass Designs. Also, Fake Croc brand, Fake Crocs. Don't get fake Croc brand, Fake Crocs. Get real Fake Croc brand, Fake Crocs. Or you're going to fall in love with them and you're going to lead to another giant Croc shortage. Tell them, Momo, we try to tell you the Crocs were cool. You didn't listen. Now you can't get enough. Now there's a Croc shortage. What part of the game is that? Okay, you heard it from Momo. Man, I don't know what I should do about my fucking face. Trepidation. Go to the hospital, get the coronavirus. Eesh. Who am I missing? Kush only ashtrays and rolling trays and all the good shit to roll up your stuff with. Located in Kansas City and ran by my man Bertie Madoff. They're the finest custom rolling trays. Get whatever you want, so you're looking at yourself. Essential Elements Apothecary, located in Selwood, Oregon. They will hook you up with a mortar and pestle so you can grind the bones of your enemies, sell you some incense so you can hide the smell, and sell you some Palo Santo so you can chase away their ghost. Don't forget about Unblocked. Unblocked. Exploring the mysteries of the blockchain with my man Dirty Dirty. Holy shit, 3 cheers for this mofo right here. Dirty is grinding so hard. He's grinding so hard. He dropped what I thought was the Declaration of Independence on me. It turned out to be our white papers. Unbelievable. Shout out to anybody that's 12 hours ahead of us or 12 hours behind us. Don't fight over it. Okay, let's dip in right now to some news you could use, so I can try to get out of here. I keep wanting to start the show. I feel like I'm on a ticking time clock. If I don't get some ice on my head to stop this swelling, it's looking bad for your boy. I really hope I didn't forget anybody. Oh yeah, don't forget about Sick Mullet Fashion Eyewear. You don't need a mullet in your heart you don't need a mullet in your head if you have a mullet in your heart. I'm gonna go to the hospital. They're gonna go, what's wrong with you? I was like, I thought it was mullet in the heart, not mullet in the head. They're gonna be like, send him to the other hospital. Okay, if you're listening to this on a podcast device, you can't see this. But remember this, man, new episodes every weekday at 10 a.m. And then it just lives on the website all day. Notice the typo. Yeah, that's a typo, but I look so intent right there. Okay, let's go with some news you could use. Brought to you by Google News, but also brought to you by Fuck 12 News. Look, Fuck 12 News, first or live or localer. And it's my news, not your news, because your news usually is sensational and celebrity chasing. So, here's more news for you guys. Dante Wright shooting. Former Brooklyn Center officer Kim Potter arrested. Will be charged with second-degree manslaughter. So, check it out, man. Resigning just means retiring. That lady's worked a long time. That just means early retirement. She needs to go to prison. She should get like the electric chair or something. I don't know what I don't know what part of what the rules are for murder in Minnesota, but if they've ever killed a black man for murder in Minnesota, then I think this will be an appropriate sacrifice. Like, yo, you got to give up one of yours. Kill that lady. Damn, look at what Fox News says. Dante Wright, accused of choking and robbing woman at gunpoint, had arrest warrant. Man, hey, can we have a real serious conversation, though, real quick? Let me get rid of all this. This is a conversation I don't want to have, but it's real. We need to look at the realities that Derek Chauvin is probably going to be exonerated. That wacky defense attorney doesn't have to convince everybody. He just has to convince one person. And now, so we got to think that jury selection in Minneapolis, Minnesota, between that goofball defense attorney and that medium to okay prosecuting attorney, that their jury selection process was probably pretty important, right? So, okay, so let me just restate this. So we got to come up, or we got to reach. We got to be prepared for it for 2 reasons. 1, they always get off. And 2, George Floyd was high as shit. All you have to do is convince one person that he was resisting. They said he was doing lunges and stretches inside the grocery store. And if you listen to him talk, dude is high as shit. Now, of course, that doesn't mean that somebody deserves to be murdered while they're crying out for their mom in front of a whole crowd of witnesses. But this is America. And America has never found a basement that it wouldn't stoop to. America has never not failed to rise to the occasion. And all it's going to take is one person in that jury trial to mistrial that. They say we can't reach a conclusion because one dude is a back to blue no matter what, right? All they gotta have to do is present reasonable doubt, right? They're trying to convict Derek Chauvin, right? They need a unanimous jury to convict a man. If somebody says, I'm sorry, I just cannot convict that man, then there's no justice. And if there's no justice, there's no peace. I mean, I don't know. Crazy. Look, I'm probably the only dude so dedicated to the hustle that I'll do a whole hour talk show with this on my head. I know people are probably like, yo, G, go to the hospital. I'm like, bro, I'm trying to own a hospital, right? I'm trying to open a hospital in a low-income community. You can't do both, man. You can't spend your time in the hospital and spend your time building the hospital. Dedication to the hustle. So with that, I just want to remind you guys to go get MetaMask wallets. Get a MetaMask wallet. Okay. Oh, you know what? I just gave that whole speech without the logo on it. One dead, 6 rescued. Search on for others after boat capsizes off Louisiana. Man, the coast off Louisiana is crazy. They got all those little crazy islands. You ever seen that movie? All right, defense focuses on Floyd's past police encounters. I missed that part. That's a New York Times headline today. Okay, now this is where it gets good. This is where it's for me, recommended based on my interests, and you're going to find out about me. Readers respond. No one is safe in Portland. Oh, man. No one is safe in Portland. Man, I kind of agree, but no one is safe anywhere. Top headline for Vox.com. Marijuana legalization has won under the radar. States around the country are quickly making marijuana illegal. Right, there's just going to be a couple of holdout states, and then the feds will just shit on them. Okay, keep it pushing. Vulnerabilities in 17 Elementor add-on plugins for WordPress. Now, let's just guess how many of these 17 Elementor add-on plugins I have, right? Okay, this is my favorite story of the whole universe, but I don't want to tell you guys the whole story right now because I actually want to use this in some stuff that I'm writing about. But I absolutely do want to tell you this, though. They have some 100,000-year-old Neanderthal footprints of 2 adults that took like 6 kids to the beach and they frolicked. And they have like 72 footprints from Neanderthals that lived there 50,000 years before humans showed up. So that's some real shit. Okay, look, I'm going to just call it right now. I think I might have to do something about this. Okay, I love you guys. If anybody wants to go sit at the hospital with me, let me know, because that would be cool. Okay, other than that, 5,000 G's.
Shining like a diamond. great things. Win